All right, good evening, good morning, whatever this is now. If some of you have to leave early, I understand. Things are dragging on a little bit, but keep in mind, that you're here to learn something, and that would be great. So, before I start, let me just kind of give a little background. What's happened over the last year. One of the major things that's probably happened is that we had basically a change of management at City Hall. Our city administrator, 4 years, retired. And we brought in some new people, and new and not new. We brought in Adam Jasinski, who had been the Public Works Director for a number of years as our new city administrator. And along with him, Amy Ingalls, who was our Economic Development Coordinator, was appointed Assistant City Administrator. And they had been with our organization, which helped them make that transition, and it's been a great godsend as far as I'm concerned, as far as we've been able to implement a lot of new things that we hadn't done in the past, a lot of automation, with people who know what the systems, they know what the problems are, so they can make it a lot easier to try to fix them. Going further down the road, with an opening in Public Works, Joe Smith, who a lot of you know was involved in the rec department. He became the interim department Public Works Director. So things are going along very well. I'll talk a little bit about the police department a little later, but just a couple of things I'd like to talk about before I get into talk about the city of Palos Heights. If any of you were so inclined to listen to Governor Pritzker talk the other day as far as his budget address, two key things that affect cities I think you have to be made. And you'll be hearing a lot of this because I'm involved in a number of organizations with the mayors in the state, and we'll continue to voice our concern about this. There's a thing called the LDGF, and it's a shared revenue source. And what happened is back in the 60s, the state of Illinois passed a income tax, and for the cities relinquishing their ability to do an income tax for the individual states or individual cities, we backed the city. This is under Ogilvy. This tells you how old it is. We backed it. The fact that we would back you for a state income tax if you would give back to every individual town in the city of Illinois, 10% of the income. Okay, and then that was a trade-off. It made sense. This way, we didn't have to go out and, as a town, go out and actually, file income tax returns for everybody and blah blah blah. But what's happened over the years is that's been cut back as the state has seen their needs increase. They said, well, the cities are places we can take that money from. So in fact, now, as of last year, it was 6.4%, which is dramatic. I mean, you're talking millions of dollars. This year, it's going to go up to 6.7%. But still, we're not going to get the money we used to get. And that's going to hurt us as far as being able to give different services to some cases. Now, we've made some additions and, and been able to increase. But us in Palos Heights, we're at a disadvantage in that we're not home rule. We cannot just increase taxes or make up a tax and charge you that, okay? It's got to be prescribed by the state statute. So we're very limited in what we can do. Another thing, even more dire maybe, is that the state under the proposal will take away local zoning ordinances. The state will dictate the local zoning ordinances that can be done within individual cities. We won't have control. A lot of that is to basically inspire or facilitate different types of housing they want to see. One thing, just if you go back and, can I digress here a little bit, the regional transit bill that passed the state this year, or last year actually, also gives the state authority to legislate how much parking can be in individual developments. So for example, and this is not going to happen, so don't write this in the newspaper or something like this, but if we're going to build a townhome development at our train station, and it says that we need X amount of parking spots, under the new law that was passed last year by the state, they can dictate you don't need that many parking spots. And a lot of that's done for the city of Chicago, but there's no differentiation between city of Chicago and suburban areas. So what the gist of this whole thing is giving the state of Illinois more control over local housing and local ordinances. So just keep in mind there's going to be a lot of pushback that we're going to try to do over the next year to stop that. So I bring it to your attention. I think it's very important. Excuse me. All right, let's go on to city finances. All right. It's kind of like Groundhog Day for you who've been here in the past, okay? The city continues to do very well in their general fund balance. Every year, the last, almost 20 years, we've actually had more income than expenses. And what that's allowed us to do is transfer a certain percentage of that into capital expenditures. And why is that important? And we'll talk a little bit about this in the future here, but we talk about public works. But what's allowed us to do is transfer X amount of dollars into the capital project budget. You can see there on the right-hand side, all those transfers that were made to capital budget. We need to place, over the next 10 years, we will need to replace $1.5 million a year for infrastructure. Whether it be water and sewer, basically water and sewer for the most part. We're a 60-year-old town, okay? Water was put back in 60 years ago. Those pipes are starting to break. We don't want to get to the point where, as you see on TV and a nightly report, it seems like, where a town has to boil their water and they don't have any water in this section of town. We're not going to let it happen to there, okay? We've taken plans through transfers and putting money into capital to spend it. Now, we may have to do something like borrow money with a bond issue and then pay it back over 10 years, but we have sufficient cash and have sufficient capital reserves to easily do that. And that will continue to be our fold going forward. This is what we've done with the roads over the last couple of years. Looking at 2004, right? We did about $200,000 a year in road program. Now we're at like $1.2 million for the roads. We're going through and doing all the individual roads, in our areas. Again, some of the subdivisions that were built 40 years ago, whether it be, Ishnala, which is longer than that, Navajo, but starting to think now, we've got sections of Westgate Valley, which most people consider a new subdivision. It's 30 years old. Those roads are starting to crumble in parts of it. Now, some of it we're not responsible for because they're townhomes. But the single-family houses, that's our responsibility. So we're going to have to look at those. Misty Meadows is another one. So this is where the road program is going to be going over the next couple of years. These are our guys. I can't say enough about them. I mentioned it last week at the city council meeting. We've got a situation where, these guys, any time, are called out 24 hours a day. We had people working a couple weeks ago on a weekend till midnight after working, or actually not a weekend, but it was during the week after working a full 12-hour day or so, having to be out till midnight to fix a water main. Okay. What we've done here over the last year is we've resurfaced 1.7 million miles of road work. That was at 1.2 we saw as far as cost. We've resurfaced Cypress. That's that area over there right at 131st Street, right across from Oak Hills Country Club. We had to build 126 sewers. We had to replace those. This is all done with our people. There's certain projects that we have to call people in, and it becomes expensive. But for the most part, we try to do it with our own staff, and they become very accomplished at doing a remarkable number of things. Just for example, if you happen to be in City Hall in the next couple weeks, we had an office that was across from myself and Adam's office that was kind of a hodgepodge of junk, and it was thrown in that room there. And two of our guys were able to transform that into an office we're going to use for the assistant city administrator. And you would think it's a brand new office, and really it's something that was terribly looking before, but it looks great now. So, but it's all done with in-house staff. Whether it be the electrical, whether it be the drywall, stuff like that. We can do that here. Same thing holds true for road programs in some cases. We obviously we go out every year for a road program. You'll see the annual road program we've done for the last number of years here. This is how much we spent on an ongoing basis. Again, the roads are starting to get old, and we know that. And it's not just, people think we just put a layer of asphalt over top the old stuff. You don't do that. You pull it out. One thing you have to do in our town, for the most part, is we don't have any water and sewer. We don't have sewers in a lot of these areas. We have them, but they're not, the drainage itself is surface water drainage that goes into a culvert. So in many cases, you have to pull out the culverts, redo all the culverts, so it's not just paving this road, it's rebuilding the whole, both sides of it, say 10 feet on both sides of it. So it's a lot more intense than just paving it. Snow removal, thank God, maybe it's over, huh? We're not on the East Coast. Last year we did 16 snow events. Okay, of that, we put down 3,700 gallons of liquid that was used along with 380 tons of salt. Okay, but again, these guys are working 24 hours a day. I think I got no complaints at all this year about the roads. I mean, I think our guys do a fantastic job. I know in some cases I had to run over to an airport or over to Beverly to do something, and I'd look at other towns we went through, and I'd see their side streets, still had an inch of snow on it. Ours were down to the bare pavement. Now maybe it was because it was my block. I don't know, but I take it that that's not the case. We started construction on a 300,000 gallon water tank over by the hospital. And then also we did a major project over on 131st Street with a 8 and 12-inch mains. And then we painted the water tower over in Misty Meadows. Again, some sewer projects. I don't think you really care about the sewer projects, but they were done, okay? One thing we did do, we replaced all the water meters in town to give a bit more accurate and easily measurement of the water usage. We can read them remotely and more accurately. We had to replace a bunch of valves with that, but for the most part it went fairly smoothly. At Lake Catherine we did a couple things. We redecked the outside of Lake Catherine. It was starting to break and fall apart. And more importantly, we put in a new parking lot over at Lake Catherine. If you know that on the far east side of Lake Catherine, there's a new parking lot. You can see it there with permeable pavers, and it goes into a turnaround, okay? We were able to get that paid for. It actually cost us nothing. MWRD, we had a grant from MWRD for the permeable pavers. They were willing to fund about half of it, and then the other half was funded by a road program money from Southwest Conference of Mayors. So again, it did cost us zip. The thing that's going to happen, and I'll talk a little bit about this later, is we have a development going in at 119th and Harlem, but part of that development is going to be another entrance into Lake Catherine coming off that spur, okay, at the far east side of that parking lot. So people will be able to pull out, get into Palos Heights, whether it be by vehicle or by bicycle, and get into our downtown area. And also it creates another emergency exit for Lake Catherine, which you don't have now. So again, these are the things that are happening all in all. On the recreation side, we upgraded the bathhouse over at the pool. That was done through an OSLAC grant. That thing was done in the 70s. It looked like it. 70 is only 50 years ago. But we redid it all. It looks beautiful now. It's got actually water and sewer that work. The showers work. We got glass windows that aren't broken. Everything's it's very safe, but it looks first class. And I think that's one of the things I've tried to do over the years is bring a first class image to Palos Heights. I mean, you'll notice that we have a lot more flowers than we used to have. Okay, we put a lot of time into landscaping, hanging plants, entranceways, the berms we put in, whether it be in a downtown area or down Harlem Avenue. It's an image we want to hand. We want to be the place that people want to come to live. And I think it's very important that that image is out there. I mean, quite frankly, I'll be quite honest with you, that's one of the reasons I don't like video poker. I think it creates a bad image for what we're trying to do in our town. Now, that people may disagree with that, but that's the reality from my standpoint, where I stand on it. What does that mean to you guys out here, as residents and business owners? We're a town that people want to live in. I mean, when my kids are in their 40s now, when they started buying houses, back then everybody wanted to go to LaGrange, or Western Springs. Those were the towns that everybody wanted to live in. Now we're seeing people come back into Palos Heights. Our educational system is second to none. The recreation facilities we have here are second to none. It's a beautiful town. You have affordability as far as housing. These are all things as far as image. And this is really what we're talking about here as far as what we want to sell is for Palos Heights. People, if there's any real estate brokers out here, a lot of those homes are sold before they even hit the market because people want to live in Palos Heights. And it's not always been that way, but I think it has become that way. And again, it's an image we want to hold. And we will continue to hold that because that's what we're going to do. From the recreation side, the update, the Veterans Play Lot at Crawford Park. We put some new signage at the Orchard Park, which is right next door here. We had some new paver blocks that were added to make it a little nicer. And then in cooperation with School District 128, we've got some reps here that we've put some new fencing to improve things. Right here in this building, which obviously most of you do know, but if you didn't know, this was a school, obviously, before we built the recreation center. We have over 1,000 memberships, which entails 1,600 people belong here at our rec center. Last year we had 53, which is 53,000 visits, which is a 4,000 number increase from the year prior. And we also had 962 personal training sessions held. Now, a lot of you who are seniors, like myself, you can become a member at a discounted rate through Silver Sneakers and Renew Active through your insurance companies. So try to take advantage of that. You can come over here. I mean, you'll come over here during the day. You'll see people walking the track, using the machines. This is what it's like. It's become a little social area too. So once you get done here working out in the wintertime, then we're going to go over to the pool and enjoying the pool. Okay, last year we had the highest attendance we've ever had. Over 30,000 people a year went to the pool. We had 117 participants in swimming lessons, and we employed 62 staff members. Now, why is that important? Because most of those kids are from Palos Heights. Those are summer jobs. Okay, we try to keep people working. If we can give your kid a job, I mean, quite frankly, it's harder finding people right now. Hey, I'll be real honest with you. I mean, I remember when our kids were small, I used to get calls from people, hey, can you get my kid a job? You can't find a job anywhere. Now we're looking, we're actually advertising for jobs. I mean, that never happened before. And I'm not blaming anybody, but kids are involved in a lot of things that they weren't involved in before. I mean, they don't have a lot of free time, quite frankly, because, the way their lives are structured. But we need people working here, whether it be in the parks or whether it be in public works in the wintertime or summertime. We have people we hire from public works. It's a great job. You're outside all day whacking weeds and things like that. It's a good time. Let's go on to also with the recreation department took over the farmers market. And last year we had the average weekly rate was we had about almost a little under 300 people come every week, which is a good number. And we have 39 different vendors. So that's something 20 years ago, we didn't have, okay? It's like, why don't we have a farmer's market? That's a great thing to have. So we started one. And now we have one all the time, and it's a great show. We have, obviously, the merchants bring their wares. We have people who bring food and vegetables. We have different not-for-profits that have booths there and show what's going on in town. So it's just an ongoing thing, but you get to meet your neighbors. I mean, that's what's great about it. It's an experience. Come on out and meet your neighbors. Where else can you meet your neighbors? At the concerts. We have concerts in the parks. We had 5 concerts this year sponsored by CNB. We have movies in the parks. Some of those concerts, we had 500 people out there, just sitting out in the grass on a weekday night. It's a great experience. So we have all kinds of activities to get people to get together and enjoy your time with us. Again, the youth activities, you'll see we had as far as number of people we had registered. Day camps, we had 588 people in day camp. I mean, those are numbers you can't fathom. I mean, that's huge. Just for example, by the numbers, here we go. Last year we offered 679 different programs. 679 in a town of 12,000. And then we had 4,000 people. That means that's a quarter of the people, a third of the people who actually participated. I mean, that's fantastic. We only had to cancel 128. Let's talk about economic development, okay? We continue to have some great economic development things that are going on. You'll see a number of the new businesses that opened up last year. And I won't go into each one of them because obviously you know who you guys are, and some of you are here, and hopefully that will continue. Next thing I'm really happy about is that we have a Culver's coming in at 119th and Harlem, CIBC Bank, excuse me. It was closed. I have a fondness in my heart because I actually built that building when I worked with Worth Bank back in the 80s. That's how that place is. But I built that building, and now it's going to be a Culver's this spring. I mean, they've already purchased the building. We're told there may be another restaurant going behind it also. Again, to the west of that, you're going to have a driveway which is there, which will give another access to Lake Catherine. And excited also too because that'll give a way for people maybe who are walking or bicycling to come on out on Harlem Avenue. Maybe walk down Harlem Avenue for a little bit more recreation, stop at a restaurant, spend a little money, and go back on their road. So that's, I think it's going to be, Matt's going to do a nice job. The gentleman who owns it, he has 2 of them already, one in Evergreen Park, one in Homer Glen. He grew up here in town, went to 118. I think he lived over in Palos Pines. So just a great family guy, and things from there. Pete's, I wish I could tell you more. I mean, that's one of the frustration things. I mean, I talked with Dan Mistovic, who's here somewhere. When Dan was a city administrator, he and I met with the principals from Pete's, I want to say 12 years ago. That's when this thing started. And, they told us then they wanted to be here. And, obviously they bought the center, so, I mean, that's half the battle. But getting them to move, I mean, and I've heard this frustration from other towns too. It's not just us. I mean, they did the same thing in Oak Park and New Lenox. Although we are meeting March 6th, we're going up and meeting with the principals of Pete's, myself, and the economic development team. So we'll see what they have in their minds. So hopefully we can get them to move. Another thing that we've got to talk about is Trinity Christian College. That's a disappointment that they're going to close. They've been around for numerous years. The problem, with small schools are having that problem. I went to school in Indiana, St. Joe's College in Indiana, and they closed 8 years ago. It just, schools of around 1,000 kids just don't have a hard time right now. And well, we've got to look at it as far as the alternative uses of the school. I've been in contact with the president, Adu. I have to say that it's not been very forthcoming, or not forthcoming is not the right word, but as far as information is not, what they're going to be doing with it. Their intention is to list it with the National Realtor, and they should be doing that within the next couple of days. Then they will come to us as a city as far as looking for what the uses can be used for. And right now it's a non-conforming use, so it'll have to be rezoned, so we'll have control over what actually goes in there. In the long run, I guess you could look at it, it could be a very positive thing. We could get some housing development. Who knows what happens there. I mean, it could be some recreational areas. It could be a mixed-use area of a lot of different things. One positive thing, it'll come back on the tax rolls. Right now, it's it's owned by a not-for-profit. It's not paying any real estate taxes. So you've got 130 acres, basically in downtown Palos Heights. It's not paying any real estate taxes, and that'll change. But time is, we're still waiting to see what happens. Next year, we'll let you know when I give the speech again. Let's look at the commercial, the real estate. One of the things that just it's kind of an interesting scenario here. You see some graphics. Who's our biggest industry? Healthcare. We're fortunate to have now Northwestern Medicine took over Palos Hospital, which was a good hospital to begin with. Now you've got a world-class operation running out of there, and they will continue to expand as I've been in contact with them, to expand services. They've expanded facilities. We also have other healthcare providers. OSF is another one that's over on Harlem Avenue. We've got Advocate's got an operation here. So every major hospital chain has got something here in Palos Heights. I mean, that says a lot of things. First of all, it's a good operation as far as clean businesses, but it speaks a lot to what our makeup of our population. Our average age of our population is 58 based on our demographics. So, I mean, people that age need health care, and this is where they go. The other side is education. 13% of them, people are involved in healthcare. Education, I'm sorry. Whether it be the high school, we've got 2 high schools in town now. We've got, the College for Short Life, and then we've got a couple grammar schools. So that's a big thing there. Let's go here. Sales tax, just to tell you, here's a historical idea where we've been on sales tax. You'll see we've gone through and actually, sales tax has gone up every year. 2020, obviously that was COVID, but it didn't suffer that much. I've said this many times, and many of you in this arena tonight are the fact that most of our businesses and restaurants are locally owned. Whether it be Frank over there with Royalberry or Franklin's or whatever. During COVID, they were able to adapt to whatever the need was. You look on Harlem, you look over on LaGrange Road, say, for example, in Orland Park. Every major chain, whether it be Denny's, IHOP, Baker Square, they're gone because they couldn't adapt to COVID. The corporate didn't tell them how to deal with this. Where our local owners, they could shut down early, they could open up a little early, things just to make an adaptation. If there's nobody there at 7 o'clock, just close up for the rest of the night and save some money and keep in business. Chains couldn't do that. So that's one of the benefits we have of having a lot of local ownership. Again, you'll see local restaurants that we have here. Just a picture of what's going on. We've got a lot of people who have come in recently to talk about opening up some new offices and not offices, but restaurants, and we've got some ideas of what are happening, and I think that's going to be very positive going forward. Obviously, one that left just recently or will be leaving is Wendy's. We're already in conversation with trying to find an adaptable user for that piece. So, with the drive-in, it's pretty hopefully open. The building department, you see, we had total revenue last year of $639,000. We issued over 1,300 building permits. Majority of those were for roofs. About 45% of those were for roofs. But what we have seen is a lot of remodeling. Okay, we're starting to see tear downs again. Again, because Palos Heights is someplace people want to live. One thing we do have now, if I have my phone with me, we have a new app. And it's called, what do we call that? Click Fix, okay? So you can get it off our website. It's an app where if you have a question or if you are driving through town and you see maybe a problem as far as somebody falling down, take a picture, send it to the proper department, and we take care of it. You don't have to call in. If you have a problem as far as just doing a question as far as do I need a permit for that, you can run through that. So this is one thing we actually have automated now. And I think it'll, say just for compliance, if you have a problem where you see some junk or garbage that's sitting out on the street, and you think, hey, they should clean this up, you don't have to call. You can actually just use your phone to ascertain and start a complaint, basically, for lack of a better word. The reason I'm saying that this is going to be automated, as is we do a lot of FOIAs. And people don't really know what FOIAs are. Freedom of Information Acts, okay? We have about 600 a year that we get. And this could be just people wanting to complain. I mean, you got somebody who doesn't like the deck that their neighbor put on. They want to make sure they got a building permit. So if they send a request in, we have to abide by that request and give them that information, look it up, find out if there's a building, if there actually was a, a building permit issued, and it may not have anything to do with anything. There's a lot of them that are based on lawsuits, and those we have to comply with. But what we've done is we've automated this whole process in the last 6 months to take a lot of the staff, away having to do all this work themselves. So again, we feel really good about that because it's going in the right direction. Keep moving here so we get you guys out of here. Lake Catherine. Last year, Lake Catherine, we had almost 3,200 volunteer hours with a value of close to $110,000. We did a number of missions. We had 600. What do we got there? The educational programs, we had 6,000 people actually participated in educational programs, and we had actually 21 volunteer days. Okay, it was fun. I mean, we had a lot of things. We had a 9%, almost a 10% increase in revenue, a lot of activity, a lot of educational things. Gareth and his group put together some great programs. Monarch butterflies, whether it be the Monarch Butterfly Pledge or a Butterfly Festival, it's a great time. So if it's really kind of scary when I talk to some people from Palos Heights who've never been to Lake Catherine. I mean, think about it, but there are people in town. So we get people from all over. We have thousands of kids that come out here every year. We have probably 100,000 people ride their bikes on our trail on a given year. So get out there, enjoy Lake Catherine, maybe wait for it to be a little warmer, but it's still, you can go out there now. But enjoy it, that's what it's for. On the police department, we had some promotions. We had our new chief here, Chief Mike Yacht. He's been with the force for a number of years. He replaced former chief, Bill Chakowski, who happens to be at the same table. We had John Parnitsky was promoted to deputy chief when Mike moved. And then Mike Mantis, who many of you know from the neighborhood, was promoted to sergeant. And we've added a couple new officers. And we will continue to add officers to staff full-time our group. So just to give you a little overview, last year we had over 16,000 calls. I mean, for a town of our size, that's quite a bit. And I think it's important to know that we had almost 3,500 hours of training. So our guys are trained, they have the equipment they need, and they're there for your best interest. One thing we've emphasized over the years has been CIT, which is crisis intervention. You'll see that we handled 126 cases last year. That's a lot. That's one every 3 days or so. And those were cases maybe historically that may have been handled by a regular police officer. And these people are regular police officers, but they treat it from a standpoint of it's a mental health facility. It's a mental health case, not a criminal case or not a public dispute. You see there that 80% of the people are from Palos Heights, a mix of 50-50, male, female, so no matter what you say about your spouse, it's not true. 50% were known, okay? It's an active situation, it happens a lot. And you'll see the groups that are handled. But we've handled almost 900 documented cases since we started this 6 years ago. I mean, and there's a lot of talk about, in the major cities about, policing, defunding, and a lot of talk about, when they say about defunding, they're talking about shifting funding to this type of operation. So we have already shifted this to a new operation where we have critical care for people who have mental health problems. We do have a number of people, just to give you a little overview, with the FBI, Homeland Security, and Drug Enforcement. And those guys, besides getting training, there are officers that are assigned on a full-time basis to these task force at the different agencies. If they, in fact, like on a drug task force, if they would actually confiscate some drugs or cash, we actually get some of that cash, and that's how we get paid for giving them the officers. Just a little tidbit here, that the police station we have here has never been, was never paid for with taxpayer money. That was paid for with drug money. The police cars you see around and most of the equipment, for the most part, is paid for with drug asset forfeiture money. So those are things we've done over the years. A highlight of last year, we, as you know, or may not know, we annexed Shepherd High School after a number of years being called in Palos Heights. It never was. Now it is, and one of the caveats is that we would give the school a full-time resource officer, which we have here. And Ashley Vincent has been there since we started. Does a great job. To my standpoint, it's more secure for the school itself to have a Palos Heights police officer there. For one reason, it used to be covered by the Cook County Police Department. They don't have the manpower in this area. You know, if you see, they may have one squad car for this whole area, where we have, our whole department right here. So, and we're going to cover it anyway. When we get a response, we're going to be the first ones there. We might as well have someone inside making the call as far as really what's going on. So that's been a great system, and we've enjoyed that. You see the specialty equipment we've added. We have we have a drone. We've got situations. We have drones. We have flock cameras, which are license plate reader cameras. We do have some red light cameras, we don't really do a lot of that. I mean, just for example, I'll be quite frank with you. Some of the suburbs, I saw one suburb actually within the last couple of years brought in over $5 million in red light fees. We do 100,000. Okay, we treat it as a regular, offense, and then we give look at every one of them, make sure that it actually is somebody blowing through a stop sign, not just making a mistake on their own. So we use it from a different way. The flock cameras, the license plate readers, I totally believe in these things. These take pictures of cars, and if someone bad comes from Oak Lawn and their police are looking for them, we can pick them up here and tell them, hey, we got the guy here. It's happened from our standpoint where someone may have robbed one of our places and took off going through Allsip, and then they also finds them on their license plate reader, and we apprehend this guy right away. So it's a great use of technology and saves a lot of money. Library continues to, they had about 115,000 visits, almost 200 people or items were borrowed, and they had a number of programs. I can tell you for a fact they're running a lot more programs than they used to, and I think it's great. It's a great use of educational facility. And just for a little tidbit again, they've got 5,100 card holders, which out of 12,000, that's pretty good. The rest of you go get your library card. Channel 4, we had over 300 shows that were broadcast on Comcast and AT&T. We do a great job of getting people out there. We had 2,400 volunteer hours. A lot of the volunteers are local people in town here, like our former city administrator. He's out there working. We do have people who are high school students from Shepherd come over and help out other places. And they give a lot of, it's a good training for them, and it's good for us too, to have people from the outside. We're always looking for people to work, and overall that's a good way to get them from the high schools. Get them young, as they say. But I think I know we're running a little late here for most of you, so, some of you are retired, you don't care, but some of you have to go back and make a living. But again, thanks for coming out. I think things are going fine. We've got a lot of activity. We've got new management staff, have done a great job. Is putting some new systems into place. I think you're going to see a lot more systems. We've got some some people with more technical knowledge on staff now. And I think it's just going forward, it's going to be really good. We have some potential problems. I mean, the water and sewer problem is something we have to deal with, and we will. And I think we have. I mean, we're fortunate that we have good reserves. Over the last 20 years, we've built good reserves. We continue to have those. We don't overtax. We have one of the lower tax rates as far as municipal tax rates in the southwest suburbs. But we have some of the best services. We're going to keep an image that I feel comfortable with, and I think you will feel comfortable with. Educationally, we've got great schools again. We're bringing in Shepherd, Chicago Christian here in town, and in the west we've got Stagg, grammar schools, churches. I mean, you can't ask for a better town. I mean, it's just something. Now we are going through a process now where we're looking at the downtown area, and I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about that. We're looking to make things a little bit easier to flow for traffic and for pedestrians. As we're going through with our consultants, one of the biggest problems they say is parking. I don't think I'm telling anybody anything new, but we will in fact address that. It's going to be whether it be new parking lots or reworking the old existing parking lots, having better public, pedestrian traffic, with people with walkers, wheelchairs, so they can get around to the restaurants. And people are going to have to realize that you can't always park in front of the business you're going to go to, okay? I mean, you go to any of the major towns, suburbs now, who have prosperity, and I'll use LaGrange or I'll use Elmhurst. They have parking garages. And now I'm not saying we're going to have parking garages, but we may have a block where you can't park right in front of the place. You may have to walk a half a block. That's progress. That's prosperity. That means your restaurants are viable. If you could park in front of every business, that means they don't have any customers. Okay? So this is a good problem. Now we have to figure out a way to work it out, and we will. So I'll be glad to answer. I know you guys got to go, but I'll be around if you have any questions. Thanks for your time, and enjoy the day. All right?